What's your relationship with email look like? Do you feel like you have it under control, or is it controlling you? As a leader, it's pretty easy to get sucked into emails. Some days I feel like my whole job is like reading and responding to emails. But that isn't the job of a leader, right? Doesn't it feel like we should be focused on more important things like mentoring staff or, being present for conversations, negotiating for resources and making strategic decisions? Sure. But email's always there and we got to deal with it. So that's what today's video is going to be about. How's it going, everybody? My name's Jared. I'm a nurse. I've been in leadership for the last several years. And on this channel, I share lessons I've learned that have helped me to grow, to be productive, and to lead my teams effectively. In this video, I'm going to share 3 strategies that will help you to tame your email inbox as a leader. But why does this matter? Like, why do you need good strategies for managing email? Well, fundamentally, email is communication, and communication builds trust. If you can't be reached or you're inconsistent in your responses, it projects unreliability, and it also fosters unhealthy communication behavior. Like, people get really creative and frantic about how they get your attention if they can't trust email, because the reality is, in most organizations, email is a primary mode of communication, and you really need to be able to respond in it. But it's kind of hard because emails, like, we know intuitively, not every email is the same level of importance. But the only way to know which ones are is to read them. So you need to have like some minimum level of attention given to email in order to at least triage them effectively, right? So what do you do about it, right? There's a couple of strategies that I'm going to share. This isn't everything you can do, but there's some big wins in these strategies that will help you as a new leader to kind of manage the beast of email. First one is probably going to scare you, but you need to turn off your new message notifications. I know it gives you anxiety, but you really need to trust me on this. The emails you get are generally not going to be so urgent that you need to know the minute they show up. And it's really similar to what we face on the unit when you're working bedside, is that alarm fatigue, right? Like, you have all these bells and whistles going off trying to alert you to things going on with your patients, and you go numb to them. And it's the same with your notifications. Like, all it is just noise a lot of times. And the other thing that it does is it fractures your attention. And you can think about this, like, imagine some scenarios. Like, maybe you're in an important meeting. You're trying to negotiate for resources. Maybe it's equipment that your unit needs, or you're trying to get staffing that you need. And then, bing, ding, ding, you have a new email. What just happened? Your attention just got pulled away. You're no longer in that meeting. And you can't give it your full attention. You can't be your best self and really negotiate well. Another example, you're working with staff. You're trying to mentor somebody. Maybe it's a coaching moment. You're really trying to develop somebody. You're trying to be present and listen and be an effective leader in that moment. And then, ba-ding, you have a new email. There you go. You're not there anymore. You can't be present. You can't be the kind of leader you're trying to be. And you will be surprised just how much clarity and focus you gain simply by turning off those notifications. Now, obviously, this is not a strategy you implement in isolation. You need some complementary habits, because you can't just like turn it off and be like, I'm not going to pay attention to email, because, as we mentioned at the outset, you need to pay attention to email. So what do you do on the other hand after you turn off your notifications to help support that? Well, one thing you can do is our second strategy, which is negotiate new communication expectations with the people that you work with the most. So this would include especially the people who report to you directly, and also the people in your inner circle, maybe the management team that you work with most closely, those folks who you really deal with on a day-to-day basis. You need to have some structured protocols around what is an urgent issue and how are they going to get a hold of you for those things. And it probably shouldn't be an email. You should have another mode. An example of how this works with my staff, they know that if there is a urgent issue that they need me right away for, they have to call my cell phone. And that is the only reason they call my cell phone. And we've had that agreement in writing. It's a guideline that we've written up. And the reason that that's helpful is that we're all clear about what that means. When I get a phone call from my staff, I know I got to pick that up. If I can't pick it up, we also have it spelled out in our guidelines that I'm going to respond back with a text message. I'm going to say, hey, I can't pick up right now. I can call you back in 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 20 minutes, whatever it is. And then they can respond back and say, no, I'm calling about this issue. I need you now. Or I'm calling about this issue. And that at least gives me clarity about what it's going to be about, helps me kind of get the right mental mode. for that conversation. But the most important thing is it creates clarity about when the conversation is going to happen. If you can create clarity, you remove a lot of anxiety out of communication. And so that's really helpful for folks to have those communication things. And you get rid of all those I need you now emails that really shouldn't be emails in the first place. So that really helps a lot. It isn't easy. It takes a long time and a lot of like conversations to make this happen. It takes months sometimes to really set up these agreements and really understand what is urgent. How do we manage those communications? What's the best way that works for everybody? But it's well worth the investment to free up your mind, free up your inbox from those really urgent communications that need to be handled differently. So that's one strategy. That's a second strategy. The third strategy that's also going to support you by, from turning off your notifications is to have more structure around your email. So this includes your habits, but also what you allow to continue in email, like what kind of conversations you'll have in email. Talk about habits first. With your habits, you need to kind of have two modes that you're dealing with email. First mode is the disciplined, structured, and thorough processing of your email. This is like I'm sitting down at my desk. I'm going to read each email. I'm going to determine what I need to do with it. It's going to end up not in my inbox, in a trusted system, and I'm going to decide what those things mean and what I need to do with them. That's processing your email. It's a really thorough. It can be very mentally taxing, but the idea here is that you're actually going through them and you're bringing some really focused attention to it. And you need to have time for this. It needs to be scheduled on your calendar. If you don't have time, like it takes time. No matter what you do, you need time to be able to do it. So I find personally it takes about an hour a day for me, sometimes 2, depending on the volume I'm getting. And that's important. Like I don't always have an hour in every day. Just like you're probably like, where am I going to find an hour? Well, you got to make the hour, make the time, find it somewhere. But even if I don't get that in a day, I know that at least I kind of know I'm already an hour behind. Like I need to find that hour somewhere else. And so that helps me plan. But then you also need another mode of dealing with things because no matter what kind of agreements you have, urgent things are still going to slip into your email. And there's always going to be situations, there's going to be people you can't negotiate those agreements with. Other departments, maybe executives who come in and they need something really, really urgently. That's always going to be there, right? So you have to have a way to catch those things. I do this thing that I call emergency scanning. Sometimes you're going like maybe between meetings, you're in the hallway, you're like at your desk and you have a minute before you have to go do something else. Pull up your messages. I pull them up on my phone or on my computer. I just read through them, scan through them quickly. I'm not reading every message. I'm not processing what I'm doing with them. I'm simply looking for the landmines. Where's the stuff that I absolutely need to deal with before I go to that next meeting or before the end of the day? What are the things that I need to make sure I don't need to deal with that could be an issue? And you'll know the subject lines and the senders you got to pay attention to. And those are the things that you can kind of quickly spin through. And it's like a 30-second to 2-minute thing that you're just whipping through your inbox. And between those two things, it really is helpful to have your disciplined processing time and then you're just sort of quick scanning. But if you're not doing either of those things, like super thorough scheduled processing and emergency scanning, don't check your email at all. And that might scare you too. You might be like, well, wait, how am I supposed to be responsive if I'm only like checking my email at certain times? Well, here's the cool thing. A lot of people don't realize this. You kind of have this anxiety, like somebody's sitting there watching, like, oh, when are they going to respond? Like, oh, I got my stopwatch out. I'm going to time them. Nobody's doing that, right? Everybody's busy. They're not paying attention. They sent that message and they're hoping to get a response back in a reasonable time. And for the most part, if you can get something back to people within 24, 48 hours, and you can do that consistently with like every message, you are now like the most responsive person in the organization. I almost promise you that, right? Most people don't have any sort of level of discipline or structure around their email. And so if you have even just a little bit, you are like head and shoulders above everybody else. And so you're going to have a lot of, you're going to get a lot of traction from just a few changes to your routine. So try to avoid the anxiety of like you always need to be dipping in and out of email. Like have your times to do it and then emergency scan at any other time. And then don't look at it elsewhere, any other way. The second type of structure you need to install around your email is discipline about what belongs in email and what doesn't. So you need to have a really sensitive antenna for the types of conversations that start in email but shouldn't stay in email. So things that have any sort of complexity around them, if there's decision making, if There's relational like conversations. Sometimes you have situations where people are like, they don't see eye to eye and we're trying to like persuade each other over email. That doesn't work, right? Like that's a conversation, and you need to take the initiative to move those things out of email, because most people won't. They're just going to persist. And those are the email threads that persist for days and days and days, and they just never come to resolution. So how do you deal with that? Well, here's a couple things. You don't even need like elaborate like explanations or, you know, conversations. It's just a couple of quick one or two liners. So example, hey, you made some good points. I'd love to discuss this. Can we connect for a quick call? Short and sweet. Here's another one. Hey, it sounds like we still have some decisions to make. When can everybody be available for a quick Zoom call? Hey, I agree. Let's connect about this. I'm not sure I understand this fully. I'd love to hear everybody's perspective. When can we talk? Now, the crazy thing about this is that like most people want to talk. Like they don't want to do this over email, but they just sort of are afraid, or they assume that you're not available because of your position or because of who else is on the email. And so it's just it's simply assumed that we're not going to talk about it. But if you can move that out and you take the initiative and just say, hey, we're going to make this a conversation. Two things are going to happen. One, you're going to have a better time in that conversation. It's going to end better. You're going to have your better relationships through that. You're not going to have as many misunderstandings. And then secondly, you're going to get a lot less email, because those long chains that just never go away, they disappear. They're not in your inbox anymore. And again, this is sort of a long game thing. It's not something that like overnight is going to change your experience, but as you do it more and more, like you see a big difference in the volume of email that you have to deal with. So it's a really strong strategy for decreasing the volume, but also making sure that you're using the medium correctly for the right types of conversations, which really should be transactional conversations. So now you've got 3 new habits to try around wrangling your email. Number 1, turn off your notifications as much as it scares you. I promise you, the world will not end, and you'll be much more focused because of it. Secondly, set clear expectations with the people you work with the most around communication protocols. How do you get in touch with me when it's urgent, and when do we do that? Third, you want to install more structure around your email, both your habits, like you need to have some set times to actually deal with email, and emergency scanning skills that you do throughout the day. But then don't check your email otherwise, and be really clear about what belongs in email, and then move everything else out of email for synchronous communication. Now, if you found this helpful, give this video a like, leave a comment, and share a strategy that you've used that you feel is effective for managing your emails. And if you're interested in more content like this with actionable strategies that you can use as a leader, subscribe to this channel and check out my website at nurseleadercafe.com. Take care and see you in the next one.